We want to briefly introduce ourselves before we start. I'm Crystal Heel, HiCap and P5 Admin Assistant.
And I am Julie Rollins. I am the P5 Highly Capable Facilitator.
And this is the fifth grade CogAT Screener Teacher Training for the 2025-2026 school year. Please go ahead and type your name into the chat box so we can credit you for 1 clock hour. We ask if you can write down your questions and hold them until the end of the presentation so we can stay on track and be mindful of everybody's time today. We're going to try our best to answer all the questions, but we are covering quite a bit of information, so we may run out of time. Tomorrow, we'll email everybody a link with the training materials, and just a friendly FYI, we will be recording this presentation, and it will also be available on the Canvas portal. On a later slide, we're going to go ahead and discuss how to access those materials.
So we're going to talk first about which students are exempt from completing the CogAT screener. We have basically extended resource, life skills, and newcomer students, which is different than the 4-month rule that was followed for the early literacy screener. So a newcomer is defined as having been in the U.S. less than 1 year. So those students are exempt from taking this. However, if a student wants to take the screener, regardless of how long they've been in the country, they are eligible to take it. And they are welcome to do so. So if they want to, on that day, take it, they are allowed to take it. But if they asked to not take it and they are not comfortable with that, then they are exempt. And we don't want any students being uncomfortable who don't have the English proficiency to do it. So we're not going to ask them to take it if they are not comfortable with it. So they have that option. For makeup tests, schools are responsible for completing their own makeup tests if the student has been out due to illness or whatever. These are to be completed in a small group by a paraeducator, coach, or whatever staff member is designated for your building. And the makeup window closes on October 13th. So in general, about the CogAT screener, this screener, it is basically kind of a mini version of the full-blown CogAT. It is approximately 45 minutes online, and it's used to support students' course selection in middle school, where they have access to advanced or accelerated options that they could be signing up for. And this will be used also for learning enrichment opportunities for 5th grade, which was formerly known as LEAP, and now it's just being called Learning Enrichment. And so all 1st graders and 5th graders are being tested. This is a universal screener for all of them, unless a parent or guardian chooses to opt them out. Our testing window is coming up here on September 29th to October 13th. And for the 5th graders, the screener is timed. Each session lasts approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, in this CogAT screener, there are 3 different areas that will be assessed, and they are the verbal analogies, the number analogies, and the figure matrices, and we'll go into those each in just a minute here. Some things to keep in mind. Again, students have that option to skip questions. They are also, you should be encouraging them to take their best guess, just like when we are kind of helping our students before SBA or any of the other assessments that they take. Just know that, you know, we can, the kids can skip questions, but we want to encourage them not to, and to have an answer for each question. And just to help them to try to complete it as best that they can.
Okay, verbal analogies. Now, These next 3 slides are examples of how the test will look like. To ensure the integrity and purpose of the CogAT assessment, we do ask that teachers refrain from practicing test questions with the students beyond the official sample questions provided. The goal of the CogAT is to measure students' reasoning abilities in a natural and unbiased way without prior exposure to test-specific content. Practicing an actual test question can compromise the validity of the results. So we appreciate your support in allowing the students to demonstrate their skills organically. In the practice questions, the first screen is an image. Then they'll click next. Then they'll be able to finally answer that question. So they'll kind of get a preview. Please give it 1 to 2 minutes for the audio to finish giving instructions on their headset before they can advance to the next slide to select an answer. Number analogies. Now this slide has information on the number analogies subtest. I'm not going to go into great detail on this slide to be mindful of everybody's time, but feel free to review it at your convenience. Figure matrices subtest. This slide has information about this specific subtest. It also has how many questions each section has. Again, we'll keep moving to stay on track, but this slide is available for you to explore further whenever you have a moment. So where can you find the test administration resources? These instructions are how to access all the training materials that we've prepared for you. Please note on the Canvas portal, the first grade materials are right above the 5th grade training materials. They are slightly different. You can find on Canvas a copy of this PowerPoint presentation and the remainder of the training materials. Your primary points of contact are going to be myself, Crystal Heel, and Julie Rollins. Now, please make note, Julie only works Monday and Tuesday, but feel free to contact me if you have any questions Monday through Friday. If you have any IEP or 504 accommodation questions, please contact Lindsay DeCarteret. Her information is right here on the screen. Please note the hours of operation for Riverside Data Manager Customer Support Center. If you have any hardware issues or questions about updating your computer, go ahead and contact the IT help desk. Chromebook troubleshooting. These are some of the most common tech issues that occurred last year. In the testing guide, we did provide more troubleshooting tips, but for the audio troubleshooting, please ensure all students can hear the audio. They can hear the directions on their headset. If the audio is not working, you can follow steps 1, 2, and 3. As far as step number 4, we do need to make sure that the student computers are updated. So if you see that your student's screen is frozen or your screen is frozen, you may need to force shutdown or switch computers. Now, preparing for the universal screener. As we just discussed, update the Chromebooks, and this is a step-by-step guide on how to do that. If you have a buddy classroom, that could be one strategy to update them fairly quickly. You can have them open up each Chromebook to see if they're updated. Please allow adequate time to update the Chromebooks. Now, overview of the day. We just went over how to update the Chromebooks here on this first section. As far as the testing materials, please make sure you have 1 pair of headphones per student, a fully charged student Chromebook, an extra one in case you have any tech issues if possible, a copy of all the training materials that we've provided, some scratch paper and a pencil, 1 per student. You can shred this after testing is completed. And then prepare your room as you normally would for any test. All right, the second part of overview of the day. You will have to create a test session, which we're going to go over on the next slide. And then incident report. Please complete the testing incident report if any testing anomalies occur. This form is also going to be located on your Canvas page, but also if you could please send us an email in case the student was absent or didn't test for whatever reason. You'll send us an email at highlycapable@everettsd.org. Please include the student's name and ID number. All right, so how to create a test session. This first step is to log in to the Data Manager platform using this link right here. If you've previously administered a CogAT screener before, you will have access to log in. Just use your work email address and whatever password that you've used before. To ensure a smooth experience, please verify that your credentials work ahead of time. You can do so by visiting this link right here. You'll enter your work email address, your password. If you've forgotten your password, there is a reset password button. You'll click that and then follow the instructions that you receive from no reply at datariversideinsights.com, this email right here. If you encounter any issues, please feel free to reach out to me. But once you're logged in, on the upper right-hand side, you're going to see a tab called Proctoring. Go ahead and select that tab right there. As soon as you click it, a Manage tab is going to open up. Now that Manage tab is going to display any current or expired sessions. Under this Manage tab, you're going to go ahead and create your first session. So now it's time to create the session. I do want to stress to only create one session, because once you complete the first subtest, it's going to automatically push the students into the next subtest. Each subtest is going to have its own unique session code. A new session code will be generated for each new subtest automatically. Please select these drop-down options right here that you see on the screen. Also, please note for battery subtest, as tempting as it feels to select getting started, do not select getting started. You're going to click verbal analogies, okay? Another thing to note, please verify all of these options are getting selected as you're going through these steps. Okay, so this is the last step for creating a test session. On number 7, please follow the following format for the test session name, which I provided an example right here for you. Now, the reason why we follow this format is so you can find your test session quickly. Huge, huge favor. If you can please, before you start testing, verify that the grade, level, and test type are all correct before starting the exam. Otherwise, if something wrong is selected, students will have to retake the CogAT, and that's something that we do want to avoid.
So this is about the draw screen. So the draw screen is a built-in virtual paint tool within the testing system. It appears automatically. So before testing begins, after each subtest is completed, and basically it is a waiting place for students who have finished that subtest earlier. So they are waiting there and drawing quietly while they wait for the rest of the class to finish. Students can use this space to doodle, do whatever they want as long as they're waiting quietly, and it will disappear automatically when the next subtest appears. I just want to mention that if they swipe too hard, it may kick them out of the test and then they'll have to log in again. So just a reminder for them to not swipe too hard, just, moderately. It rarely happens, but it has happened before. So before starting the test, it's a really good time to remind them that of the subtests are about to start, that they should stay quiet and in their seats during and after the test, especially while they're waiting on the draw screen, to raise their hands for help. When we're testing, our eyes are only on our own screen. So a lot of those kind of common sense things that we do for any test situation, which they should be familiar with from the SBA and other assessments they've done. When they raise their hands for help, remember that as the teacher, we can't help students answer test questions. They'll need to take their best guess and just encourage them to do that. Ask the students again, remind them to swipe gently on the draw screen, and the test is timed, and they should see the timer on the top right of the screen.
Before starting the test, please let the students know that following the last question, students can click Review All to go back and review their answers. Once they click Finished at the end of each subtest, they are unable to go back and review their answers. Please note that they can only revise their answers at the end of each subtest. For example, Once they finish the third subtest, they're not going to be able to go back and review questions and answers for the first or the second subtest. Now, there is a print-friendly version of this slide on the Canvas portal. All right, so you're almost ready to start testing. Now, make sure you have all your materials ready. You're going to need charged Chromebooks, paper, pencils, and headphones for each student. Please note that the quantitative section is the only section that needs scratch paper. Please shred this after testing is completed. Now, when students are ready to test, these are going to be the instructions for the teacher. You're going to double click on the CogAT screener session that you previously created, and then another tab is going to appear. After the completion of each subtest, a new tab with a new session code will appear automatically. Please note, only keep 2 tabs open at a time. Close tabs for subtests that are already completed. The session code is at the top right corner of each tab. You'll see the example right here. That's what it looks like. Please write down all the session codes so that when students log in, that can be easily accessible. Make a note to yourself with the 3 session codes. You will only have 1 code at the beginning of the testing process, so that's going to be normal. The other 2 codes will generate after you complete each subtest. Now, why is this important? It's important because if there's any tech issues, which I hope none of you experience, but the tech is going to ask you, which session code are your students on right now? So if you provide them with the incorrect session code from a session that's already been done, they won't be able to help you. So please make sure to make a note to yourself of all the session codes, especially the one that your students are currently in. So starting the test, these are going to be instructions for the students on how to log in. First, they're going to log into their Chromebook. Then they're going to click Data Manager icon. Right here, it's at the bottom of their toolbar. They'll click that. Once they click this, this is going to appear. It's going to say, take a test. They'll click Take a Test. After that, they're going to see this screen that you see here. They will only complete this right-hand side of the screen. You'll ignore this. They're going to enter their lunch ID number and then the session code that we've been talking about. Now, then after that, they'll click Sign In. One of the most critical pieces to this is a pop-up is going to come out and it's going to ask them to verify their name. So make sure that the students look, they raise their hand in case they do not see their name pop up on the screen, and then we can go ahead and troubleshoot from there. Now, teacher instructions. At this point, students are now going to wait for your approval. So have them raise their hands if they don't see their name on the pop-up screen. So now you need to approve students. On this left-hand side, you'll see waiting for approval. As students start to successfully log in, you're going to see their names populate right under here, under waiting for approval. One thing I do want to note, please do not approve students individually. Once all the students are logged in, you'll click Approve Testing All. We do recommend you pre-print student passwords and student ID numbers and have students practice logging in to their Chromebook before starting the screening process. Now, this is the perfect opportunity to remove a student from the session that logged in using an incorrect ID number. Say they logged in using a number that was one off. If a student does that, you're going to see an unfamiliar name underneath this waiting for approval. So say, I don't have a Lloyd McDonald. You're going to go over here to the right-hand side. You're going to click X because they typed in their wrong ID number. And then that student is going to get kicked out. And then they'll finally have an opportunity to log in using their correct ID number. Now, this rarely happens because 2 things need to happen. 1, they need to log in using their incorrect ID number, and then also ignore that pop-up that asks them to verify their name. So this is a third safety net, if you will, for just to make sure that students are not taking the test under a different name. So starting the test, monitoring the sample items. Underneath the status column, which is right here, I expanded it for you. If you see a T in front of the numbers, in this example, it says T2 of 5, they're still on the sample questions if you see that. If you see 2 out of 5 without the T, that means that they've already started the actual test. Okay, so your students have reached the end of a subtest. So this slide is two scenarios. On one scenario, following the last question, students can click review all to go back and review their answers. This is if they finish early. So they'll have a chance to look at each question, review their answers, or they can click finish. You know what? I feel confident. I don't want to review my answers. Click finish at the end of each subtest. But once they click finish, they're not able to go back and edit their answers. On this scenario, the student time has expired because it is timed. Now, on the upper right-hand side of their screen, the student screen, they're going to see a timer. So they'll know, oh, I only have 1 minute left. I only have 30 seconds left. But once that time does expire, there's going to be a pop-up indicating, hey, thank you for completing this part. They'll click OK. And then you're going to see it on your end that they've completed that part of the assessment. If, for whatever reason, you know for a fact the student is done, and on your end you're not seeing that reflected, you're going to go ahead and click refresh status. It doesn't automatically update, but just click refresh status and you're going to go ahead and see in real time who is either still in the test or who has already completed the test. So how to move on to the next subtest. So these are the teacher instructions on how to continue to the next subtest. Go ahead and click continue testing all after the first subtest is done and after the second subtest is done. Then you'll click OK. They'll start the next subtest. Now a new session code is going to appear on the right-hand side. Write down the session code and close the previous tab of the test that has already been completed. The status doesn't always automatically update. We've kind of gone over that, so just click refresh status as needed. But when you're in the third and final subtest, this is the only time that you're going to click end testing all, this button here. So again, you're only going to click this button here once everybody's done with all three of the assessments, okay? If possible, try not to take a break. But if you really must take a break, we ask if you can take it in between subtests. The reason why we tell you not to take a break if you can, if the break is too long, it's going to kick everybody out of the platform and everybody's going to have to log in again. You're going to have to create a brand new session and we want to try to avoid that. All right, now testing is completed. After all the subtests have been completed, you're going to click end testing all, kind of what we just discussed. Please complete a testing incident report. If any testing anomalies occur, you can go ahead and review your guide to see what falls under an anomaly. If any student was either absent or was removed for whatever reason, something happened, please go ahead and fill out a testing incident report and then send an email with the students that were absent and ID numbers to highlycapable@everettsd.org. Now, I'm not going to go over this slide in detail because this slide are instructions only if there was an emergency, like there was like a random fire drill or something that you were not expecting. You can go ahead and refer to the slide if you had an emergency and you had to exit in the middle of your subtest. But if you find yourself in this situation, please don't hesitate, reach out to me and I'll help you problem solve this one. Now, before we head into the Q&A, I did want to give a really quick demonstration on how to log into the Data Manager platform. So I'm just going to log in with my credentials. If you don't have credentials, please reach out to me. You're going to click the Proctoring tab here. You're going to select your grade. This is the most critical step. You're going to click 5th grade. After that, it's pretty easy because there's limited options. The only one that you do have to make a note to select the right one is verbal analogies. Some people get very tempted and click this. Please do not. You'll click verbal analogies. And then here, you're going to go ahead and click audio English. Here, you're going to create your session name. So we'll start with your school, your name, the type of screening it is, CogAT, grade. You're going to leave the draw screen on. And then last step is create the session. Now, once the session is created, you see how so many people have created their sessions. It's very easy to kind of get a little lost, where's mine? So I just recommend if you click session name, it's gonna alphabetize all of these so it's easier to find, but you're basically gonna click your link open, and then once you click it open, then people can log in and start testing. But if you do get an error, like the kids are trying to log in and it's giving you an error like, oh, you have not started the session, you have to click this to open it up, and then students are able to log in. All right, we're gonna go back to the presentation so we can have Q&A time. So feel free to let us know if you have any questions.
Feel free to unmute and ask if you have questions or type it into the chat.
If you have a split class, do the fourth graders need to be out like when you do SBA? Does someone need to pull them, or can the fourth graders stay while you give it to the fifth graders?
So they can stay as long as they're quiet, reading a book. But if you start noticing, hey, you know what, I have a really loud group of kiddos, it would be best if, you're going to have to take, your best judgment there based on how either rowdy the kids are. If they're able to stay quiet, they can stay in there because it's only 45 minutes. But yeah, if not, you're going to have to see how you can
Yeah,
get
no,
creative.
that's not the hard part. We just want to follow the rules so it doesn't catch it.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's an option. They can stay in and listen. Yeah, that's no problem if they're able to stay quiet.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I see a question in the chat. So if you need credentials to access to Data Manager, go ahead and send me an email. It's on this one of the slides, but it's kgil, K-G-I-L at everettsd.org. And I will definitely create credentials for them. They'll get an email getting next steps on how to create that profile. I have another question. Will you be providing a paper hard copy of the directions, or do we print them? So we won't be providing any hard copies. You are able to, as of tomorrow, you'll be able to look at all the materials that we have provided on the Canvas portal, and you are able to print them from there. So we're going to make it accessible on the Canvas portal. We're still updating that, but by tomorrow, you'll see all those materials updated and they'll be in there.
And this presentation as well will be on there too, so you can review the slides.
Yeah, and this is going to be recorded, so we'll post this there as well. Getting another question, are we supposed to create the test session now? You totally can. I would recommend doing it as soon as you can. It does not expire. So if you want to do it tonight, the day before test, that's always great. You can also email me, kgil@everettsd.org. Just say, hey, I just want to double check. I just created my session, and I can go in and look, okay, everything looks good. I am going in there every single day and I'm reviewing everybody's sessions just to make sure that they're set up properly. As long as you do it, with due time, I will go in there and I'll make sure that everything is set up correctly. Kathy, for your question, when you entered the info, I might have to do a one-on-one with you because unless there's an option that's not like an empty cell or like an empty box, you should be able to create the session. So I might have to connect with you on a one-on-one basis to problem solve that for you. So yeah, I'm wondering if you need to drop down all the options and select, fifth grade, do all the things, put in your the session name, and then you're able to see test admin type. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll follow up with you on a one-on-one basis then. Yeah, I'm gonna connect with you, Kathy, so that way we can get that figured out for you. No worries.
So like, are you gonna email me later or how are
Yeah,
we?
I'll go ahead and I'll email you later.
Okay. I have also session name is blank. Is there something I'm supposed to type in there?
Yeah, so you're gonna follow the format. It's going to be your name, your school name or abbreviation, and then your name. It can either be first and last name, it could be your name, however you want to find your session, and then type in CogAT, and then whatever grade you teach at towards the end. And you can do hyphen, you can do slash. Just because you type it in a little differently, nothing will be affected. The only purpose of filling out that name section is so you can find your session quickly.
It's not letting me type anything in that box either.
Oh, interesting. I'm just wondering if you have settings are set a little differently, and then once we finish this Zoom, I can adjust your settings like on the back end. Because I have a feeling that's probably what it is.
Yeah, because I
Because
did
I'm
give the test last year.
I'm sorry.
I did give the test last year.
Okay, yeah, that's weird because I'm actually in there and I'm able to create sessions. But yeah, we'll definitely troubleshoot in just a little bit. Okay.
Okay, I'll be here for like another 20 minutes or so.
All right. No problem.
You.
All right, if you don't have any other questions, feel free to log off. We're going to be recording this, so in case anybody else has any other questions, this will be on the Canvas portal. Just make sure you typed in your name before you go, so we make sure you get credit. All right, Gabriela, as far as answering your questions, so if you create the session now, you're good to go. The test session does not expire, so if you've already done it, you're gonna go ahead and just so one thing to know, make sure that you click that link before the students log in. I wouldn't click it right now, but yeah, as long as it's in there, you're ready to go. It does not expire.